My name is Michael. And I swear what I'm about to tell you really happened. People think I lost my mind, that I made it all up, but I know the truth. And ever since that weekend, I've never been the same. It started with a simple camping trip. There were 5 of us, me, Chris, James, Emma, and Lena. We were all in our 20s, hungry for something thrilling, something different. Chris found a place online, a forest called Red Hollow, deep in the northern hills. No phone service, no official trails, and according to some local legends, no return for some who entered it. We laughed off the warnings. Ghost stories, we thought. Urban legends. We packed our tents, food, and gear, and hiked out on a Friday morning. The forest was different. It wasn't just quiet. It was dead silent. No birds. No insects. Even the wind didn't move the trees. It was like stepping into a painting, frozen, unreal. But we were too excited to care. We found a small clearing near a twisted, massive tree whose roots curled out of the earth like claws. James joked that it looked like it was trying to crawl out of the ground. We set up camp, lit a fire, shared drinks, and told stories. Then night fell. That's when the whispers began. At first, I thought it was the wind. But there was no wind. The leaves didn't rustle. The air was still. Yet I could hear them faint, unintelligible whispers drifting between the trees. They didn't sound angry, but they didn't sound human either. Around 2 a.m., I stepped out of my tent to use the bathroom. That's when I saw Emma. She was standing barefoot in front of the twisted tree, staring up at its branches. Her head tilted slightly, and her mouth was moving, murmuring something I couldn't hear. I called her name. She didn't respond. I stepped closer. She suddenly turned to me and smiled. But it wasn't Emma's smile. Her face was pale, her lips stretched unnaturally wide, and her eyes were completely black. For a moment, I thought I was hallucinating. Then she collapsed. We brought her back to the tent, and she woke up an hour later with no memory of what happened. We should have left then. But we didn't. The next morning, Lena was gone. Her tent was torn open from the inside, and there were dragging marks leading toward the forest. We followed them for half a mile, until they vanished. Literally. The trail just ended, like she had been sucked into the earth. Chris wanted to call for help, but we had no signal. We argued. James insisted she had just wandered off. That night, things got worse. James woke us up screaming. He said the trees were moving. That they were watching us. His eyes were bloodshot, his hands shaking. We tried to calm him down, but suddenly all the trees around the camp began to groan low, deep, rumbling noises like old wood being bent. Then came the knocking. Not from animals, not from footsteps, but a slow, deliberate knock, like someone tapping on the trunks. 1 knock. Pause. 2 knocks. 3. We all huddled by the fire with our flashlights. We didn't sleep. On the 3rd night, Chris disappeared. Gone. No sound, no struggle, nothing. His flashlight was lying near the edge of the camp. Next to it were footprints. But not human ones. They had long, stretched toes, almost like claws, and were pressed deeply into the soil as if something heavy had stepped there. Emma started whispering to herself constantly. She spoke in a language none of us knew. She scratched symbols into the dirt with her fingers. Circles with eyes in the middle. And then she said, "They live under the tree." I asked who. She looked at me, and her eyes were black again. "The ones who feed," she whispered. "They took Lena. They took Chris. And they want more." I tried to run. But wherever I turned, we kept ending up back at the same clearing. The forest had trapped us. Every path we took, every direction, it all brought us back to the twisted tree. I don't know what made me do it, but I took a lighter and set fire to the base of that tree. It screamed. I don't mean the fire cracked, I mean the tree screamed. A loud, bone-chilling shriek echoed through the woods like something ancient and angry. Then the forest went mad. The ground shook, branches snapped, shadows moved where there was no light. I saw James being pulled into the ground by roots that wrapped around his legs like serpents. Emma stood in the firelight, smiling, and walked into the forest, never looking back. I ran. I ran until I blacked out. When I opened my eyes, I was lying on the side of a highway. Only I made it out. I tried to tell the police, but they never found the forest. They searched for weeks. Nothing. No red hollow. No trees. No signs of a camp. It was like it never existed. But I know what I saw. And every night since, I still hear the whispers.
In early autumn, Anna, a brave and adventurous young woman, decided to spend a night camping alone deep inside the vast forest she had heard so many chilling stories about. This forest was known for strange disappearances, whispering voices at night, and mysterious lights flickering between the trees. But Anna's spirit was fearless. She wanted to face the unknown. She arrived at the forest late afternoon, as the sun began to set behind the towering trees whose thick canopy blocked much of the fading light from reaching the ground. Choosing a secluded spot far from the trails, she set up her tent beside a small stream, the only source of life in the silent wilderness. After lighting a small campfire, Anna sat quietly, watching the forest around her. The usual sounds of birdsong and rustling leaves filled the air, but then suddenly, all the birds went silent. The forest fell into an unnatural, suffocating quiet, as if it was holding its breath. Curious, she grabbed her flashlight and walked towards the faint sound of running water. With each step deeper into the woods, a heavy feeling settled in her chest, like cold eyes watching from the shadows. Suddenly, she noticed a faint, flickering light moving slowly between the trees. She couldn't tell if it was another camper or something else, but a chill ran down her spine. Back at her campsite, the wind began to pick up, howling softly and carrying strange whispers. Anna's name was spoken over and over in hushed tones, Anna. Anna. Trying to shake off the growing unease, she crawled into her tent to sleep. But then the air grew ice cold, her breath turning to mist inside the confined space. Through the thin fabric, she saw a shadow slowly creeping closer, silent and deliberate. The whispers grew louder, turning to agonized cries, fragmented voices begging for help in a language she didn't understand. Suddenly, a heavy thud hit the tent roof, like something large had landed right on top of her. Panic surged through her veins as invisible cold hands seemed to press in from all sides, trapping her inside. A putrid, ancient smell filled the tent, and through the darkness, a pale, ghostly face appeared among the shadows, its bulging eyes filled with terror and suffering. Anna tried to scream, but her voice was swallowed by the thick darkness that enveloped her. The cries turned into muffled screams coming from beneath the earth itself. Then, a cold, bony hand brushed her shoulder. She spun around just in time to glimpse the skeletal fingers vanish into the darkness, pulling her slowly away from reality toward an unseen, shadowy realm. Her flashlight flickered out, plunging her into complete darkness, leaving only the chilling scent of death lingering in the air. She shut her eyes, fighting to resist, and when she opened them again, she was alone in the thick fog of the forest. The whispering voices never ceased, repeating over and over, "Anna, don't run, come back to us." As dawn broke, search parties found Anna's tent abandoned, no sign of her anywhere. The only clue was a strange set of carved symbols etched deep into a nearby tree, symbols no one could decipher. And still, locals say, if you wander close to that forest at night, you might hear the soft voice of Anna calling out from the darkness, forever trapped between this world and the next.
Panic spread. They moved together, quickly and without direction, until they stumbled upon an old, half-collapsed wooden cabin tucked among the trees. Desperate for shelter, they rushed inside. It was musty, abandoned, and covered in frost, but better than being out there. As soon as the last student entered, the cabin door slammed shut on its own with a loud bang, and a heavy iron latch snapped into place from the outside. They tried to open it, but it wouldn't budge. Then the walls began to creak as if something was moving behind them. One of the students, Pavel, approached the frost-covered window and looked out. He screamed and stumbled backward, pale and trembling. When asked what he saw, he whispered it was Nikolai, standing out there, but he wasn't human. His eyes were black, and he was smiling, bleeding from his mouth. The room fell into total silence. Moments later, the lanterns and flashlights flickered out. Darkness consumed the cabin. A deep, resonant growl came from beneath the floorboards. Then, the sound of something scratching, no, clawing, at the walls. The entire cabin shook, the windows cracked, and the students huddled together in a corner, crying and praying. One of the teachers fainted, and when they checked him, his eyes had rolled back completely white. Suddenly, one of the windows shattered inward with a freezing gust of wind, and a scream pierced the night, not from any human throat, but something far more primal. 2 students collapsed unconscious. Others began hyperventilating. Then, all at once, silence. The noises stopped. The shaking ceased. The door slowly creaked open on its own. Afraid but with no other choice, they stepped outside, and to their shock, they were somehow back at the entrance of the forest. But the sun hadn't risen. The sky remained dim and colorless, locked in a strange gray twilight. Without speaking, they walked back to the bus where the driver sat asleep behind the wheel. The engine was still running, but no one could wake him. They boarded the bus in total silence and returned to the school, each one too shaken to speak. The next day, police were sent to search the forest for Nikolai. They found no trace of him, nor any sign of the cabin. Dmitri, the guide, went missing 3 days later. His home was empty, and no one saw him again. The school quietly canceled all future field trips. Most of the students transferred within weeks. The ones who stayed refused to talk about what happened. Some began therapy for recurring night terrors, while others isolated themselves completely. And the forest of shadows? It was officially declared a restricted zone by local authorities. But even now, villagers still whisper that at night, if you stand at the edge of the trees, you can hear the voices calling.